Welcome to today's HR Talk podcast. Today we will be talking about outsourcing and contracting and why you should do it. In the hot seat today, we have Kim Johnston from Q Agency. So we're delighted to have you here today. Kim, rather than me introducing you, would you please introduce yourself for us?
Okay, Christelle, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm Kim and I look after the UK and Ireland market for Q Agency, usually referred to as Q. We're the fastest growing software agency in Europe by Deloitte, grown from 3 people 7 years ago to 150 people now, actually in-house, and a further 1,200 developers that we work with. We work in 20 countries in the world and have completed over 400 very successful projects for a range of clients. So happy to chat to you about the issues today.
That's great, Kim. Gosh, that's some great growth. So delighted to have you here, and hopefully the listeners will kind of get something out of it. I do know that a lot of people may be looking at outsourcing for the very first time. A lot of people may have people furloughed, or so they can't get those people to work on the projects that they're doing, and maybe outsourcing has now become the only financial viable option for people. So if I was looking to outsource for the very first time, how would I go about that?
Well, it is correct that there are a lot of people looking to do it, and it can be financially viable. But like everything, you have to do a lot of preparation work around it. People who are being furloughed, if they're not able to work, or you're just looking for extra resource, the first thing you have to do is make sure you have a partner who you fit with in lots of ways. Of course, everybody who does outsourcing should be excellent at what they do, but it has to be a value proposition. Over the last 3 months, technology and how we actually work as companies has grown so fast that we've achieved or changed how we work faster than in the last 3 years. So you have to think about your own company and its values and how you would behave. If you're going to be choosing somebody who's going to work on the outsourcing side with you, you have to make sure that they understand exactly what it is you want to do, if it's a project that you need finished or whether it's an ongoing thing. So the pros and cons. If you work with a company, you have a fixed cost. So you know every month what you're going to do for the size of the team. If you need to get that team to go really fast or shrink it down, you know every month how much you're paying for. So you don't have to worry about recruitment costs. You don't have to worry about sick pay. You don't have to worry about paying pensions. So financially, it is potentially a really good option, as long as you've chosen who you want to work with, right, who can deliver that for you. If you're hiring somebody or working with somebody as an outsourcer, then you need to make sure that they can do things elegantly, efficiently, and can do it within the time frame that you have, but also the quality has to be there, of course. If you get that wrong, the cons very quickly are it's going to be expensive for you, you're going to be unhappy, they're going to be unhappy. And so it's not a matter of just handing over a project. There's got to be so much preparation. And it can't be a knee-jerk reaction. You have to really think strategically why it's a good option for you, for your company. Those people who are going to be furloughed, are they coming back? Are you going to get rid of them eventually? Or not get rid of, but are they going to lose them eventually? So you have to think strategically, and it shouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction. It has to be well thought out.
I think that's the key, isn't it, Kim, is that people are, anxious at the moment. They're not really, they have projects that need to get done, but that prep work is probably the most important part of any outsourcing project.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a good chance actually for a lot of organizations to think and do an audit about how they're currently working. Are those working methodologies the right way for them? In my experience, a lot of companies have looked at what they're doing and have thought, look, it's not really working for us. We need to pivot. And if people are pivoting, which is the new thing.
Yeah.
If people
it's a new buzzword at the moment.
Yeah, it is. Changing their direction, looking at the strategy and saying, okay, look, we've now been forced to take a look at this. We now have the time to look at this. what are our options, which is the best way to go forward. And I think it's been a huge leveler across the board for organizations to do that.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more that if it goes wrong, it's a massive con, but it's because you haven't put your prep work in place.
Totally.
Yeah, so I do think that a lot of people may be reticent about outsourcing because they've had such a bad experience.
Yeah.
But it's not a golden ticket.
No, it's definitely not. It has to be right for all parties. We love working with companies that have had bad experiences. The worse, the better. We have spent 7 years making a lot of mistakes and have a really well-honed methodology and system of onboarding clients so that the client is super happy. There's no point in a client or a customer not being happy. So when people say, okay, we've tried it before, it doesn't work, it's like music to my ears, because if you've done it wrong or it has been done wrong, this is how you do it right. And when those people become clients, you can literally hear them breathing, saying, aha, this is how it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be this uphill battle.
It's supposed to be delighting clients, making them understand that working with you makes their life easier. And that's the whole point.
Yeah. So, Kim, obviously we've seen a huge shift the last few months. And Q Agency, you guys primarily work in the tech sector.
Yes.
So, have you seen an increase in regards to companies going predominantly online? And do you think the days of kind of the brick and mortar shop fronts are in the decline?
Well, that's a really good question, Christelle, because yes, we do primarily work in the tech sector, but our clients are not all in the tech sector. They could be retailers or anything. So if you take it down to what's actually happening at the minute, most people are working from home. Certainly people are maybe working from home from smaller villages. I certainly am. A lot of my clients in London aren't living in London, for example, so they're at home. They realise that they've got local shops to go to. Those shops are local businesses. So I see this going two ways. I think that there will be increased demand for online because it's easy for certain things, but for value add or value things, like where I live, we have a local bread shop which makes amazing sourdough, and it's just been literally the little thing in the village that keeps everything together, alongside an independent food shop that does Irish cheeses, for example. So the cheese guys, more people locally, because we're all working and living locally, are buying from him between a certain hours of the day. But he's also gone online, is now selling local Irish cheeses across the world. So that has really twisted his business into a really different way that he didn't even think about 3 years ago. I don't think the bread business has gone online yet. The cheese business has.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that as well. Even just locally here, where we are, there's a lot of local businesses. Yes, they've been forced to go online, but it's making local people actually shop with them as well.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's been a leveling of humanity in terms of people who have big jobs realize that, yes, they've got kids at home, they can go to their local shops, but they're still running international businesses.
Yeah.
You know, from their rooms. So it's changed mindset in a lot of people's lives, and not one person that I've spoken to literally wants to go back to an office 9 to 5. Some people never want to go back. Other people say, yes, I need to be with people, so maybe 2 days a week. But that just literally, the lack of travel time frees up so much more time for people to be creative, to think about their business, how to make it better. So I think it's given people a lot of breathing space.
I think so too. I think it's kind of made us just pause for a minute and realize we don't have to be on the run as much as we do. We did a survey recently in regards to how people want to go back to work, and exactly like I said, I think people who never would have remote worked before, that kind of dual working option, I think is definitely going to be here to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you know, that creates other problems as well. So you've got to manage that. We did a survey of our guys, and 87% of those people said they never want to go near an office again, and 13% said, no, we need to go into the office. And whenever we actually looked at the stats, the 87% were the developers who don't want to see people anyway.
Yeah.
And the rest were, the biz dev and admin people that said,
Yeah.
we really need to have this. So it creates a lot of interest about, as an organization, how do you manage those, keep them engaged, keep them happy, keep your clients happy by letting them have proper lives, whatever that life wants to look like from a work perspective.
Yeah, I think employee engagement is just going to be so important going forward, because regardless of if your employees are working from home, you still have to create a company culture that they feel invested in, and that they feel like they're part of a team.
It goes beyond just keeping people happy, but engaged, happy employees makes profitable companies. And we have to acknowledge that we have to look after our staff, but it's not just to look after staff. Everyone has to make money, so we can spend it in those little new online or little independent shops.
Exactly. A lot of people are reticent to outsource development. So we spoke about this. They may have had a really bad experience, or they may just be against kind of managing a remote team. What do you think is the key to managing an outsourced team?
Okay, it's an old cliche, but communication is everything. Absolutely. So if we were going to take on a new client, then first of all, our values have to be aligned with the client's values. We have to spend a lot of time up front understanding, and we do this by, we've got methodologies, and we do this by workshops, discovery. We spend a lot of time communicating, and there always has to be one person from the client side responsible for everything. And on our side, we have that mirrored. So, we're a well-oiled machine. We know how to do it, but the client has to think that they have an input. They have to feel like it's a partnership. If they just say, okay, build this, hand it over, that never works. So
in theory, it's a great idea, but that's not going
to. There has to be that investment in time, and the person from the client side has to be really happy that they know what they're doing and what's expected of them. Now, it's not an onerous thing, but there has to be really clear lines of this. If this doesn't happen, then this is going to end up being a disaster, which again doesn't work for anyone. So that's what we run people through that. And again, it's about shared values, about long-term engagement, having somebody who's very responsible and happy from client side, and communication constantly. We work agile, so every day we have stand-up meetings. So
And so, Kim, can I ask then? So, if you were, so you've got this project, we go to you, we're happy, it's being done. I presume a lot of people then, because they have that engagement or they have that relationship with you, the next projects are easier?
Yep, absolutely. Once somebody's used us and they're happy, which they are, then we do get a lot of repeat business. But our business model is one of two things. Either we will do a project, so we have front end, back end design, just we have the whole team to do everything, or we build dedicated teams for people.
Okay.
So those two things are so people usually start off with giving us a project, realize how easy it is to work with an outsourcer, and then we build a team, and that makes it even easier. So it's a different way of looking at it, but yes, people do the second time very, very straightforward.
Because I think that's interesting with the team, because I think a lot of the time when you're outsourcing something, so it's a new person you're dealing with, you've got to start it from scratch, explain what you want, explain what the product does, explain what your company does, and then the next project that you do, you've got to do that all again. Whereas if you have that kind of dedicated team, they know you already, right? That's the key.
And that dedicated team could be one person, but all that knowledge, and it's not just the tech knowledge, again, it's the cultural knowledge. It's because every customer is different. Some people have this or some people have that. So it really has to be the person on our side has to be part of the whole team. And it's that knowledge that we hand over, which is really invaluable and saves a lot of time, because there's one, we have that dedicated side.
Yeah, I suppose they kind of just even learn how the company works, or what their ethos is, if they're really focused on compliance, or if they're really focused on culture, whatever it is. Absolutely. They understand what the client is working on. Biggest pitfalls when managing a remote team, Kim, what are they?
Again, it's back to it's back to the preparation, communication at the start. We spend a lot of time up front understanding everything, because this is how we built an organization to do this. So we're really slick in how we do it. The worst thing that could possibly happen is 3 months, a team working really hard. Client comes in and says, "Why are you building this? This is not what we wanted."
Yes.
Because somebody has miscommunicated something. You get an angry customer, you waste money, you get really disheartened developers because they think they're doing the right thing. So the pitfall is literally the communication. You can't get that wrong.
Yeah, and I suppose that's it. So from your perspective in terms of so how often would you be talking to the customer, every day, once a week, or what kind of?
Whatever the customer wants.
Yeah.
Once the system's set up and everyone is happy, then it is. We have project managers who are responsible for all communication for each project or for each team. So our communication is very sophisticated, but there's no point if it doesn't need spoken to every day. We can speak to them, but we would never leave somebody for 6 months and say, "What do you think of that?" So it depends on the customer, but if we're happy with it as well.
Yeah,
it's just about education, and we're very good at that up front. I mean, I always use things like, people want to change things. It's like building a house. If you have just got a builder in to put a new kitchen into your house, if suddenly you want the sink moved somewhere, the customer probably thinks, "Oh, that's just a button, needs moved there." But literally you have to unravel things. Get the plaster in, get the plumber in, get the electrician in, buy a new sink because you've broken something. So people who are not used to actually building things need to understand how it's built. Then they can understand how it's built after that.
And that request will have an impact on the delivery date, basically.
Absolutely. But again, all these things have to be completely upfront. And if we feel, and any good outsourcer should, if they feel they can't do it, don't take things on that you can't do. You have to be absolutely sure that you're the right fit for that company and that company's the right fit for you. So that's another pitfall I would say to look out for. Make sure you're dealing with somebody who's happy to turn work away if it's not right.
And I think that's key, because you can put up an ad, and we had this experience before. We looked to outsource some things, and somebody was saying, "Oh, they get that done in 2 days," and the other person was saying they get it done in 2 months. And you're thinking, okay, there's clearly a little bit of a discrepancy here. So then I think if you're trying to outsource yourself, it's hard, because then you think, okay, no, we're just not going to do it because I don't understand this. So it's probably good to work with some kind of agency like you, that at least you're able to coach people how to go about it, or what the areas of development should be.
Absolutely. And if it's not right, walk away and go to somewhere else that they do feel is right. So every company should be really choosy about who they work with, because it has to be a win-win long-term relationship.
I mean, it should be an extension of your company.
Correct.
Your team, rather. Yeah, that's the ultimately, and to kind of create that long-term connection. Really.
That's it. I mean, whenever we take clients on, we make sure that the senior team comes to Zagreb, where we're based, and whenever we kick off projects or we build teams, we send our guys to the client site. Obviously not at the minute, but it makes them feel, if you've had a beer with somebody and you've sat down over a meal with somebody, it just makes that relationship real. You're not a person, a number at the end of that. You're an actual person. And it makes that relationship easier. So
I suppose at the moment, if companies have people furloughed, are you seeing an increase in people looking for just quick, small jobs while they can't get their staff to do it?
Other people may have. We don't take things like that on.
Okay.
It's not, for us, it's not about solving a knee-jerk reaction to this. It has to be, okay, if this is your problem, we'll sit down with anyone, we'll discuss what their issues are. If we can help, of course we will. If not, we can recommend how they can solve that issue. But specifically, I think that people who are on furlough might be placed doing something else, or that they might decide not to come back into the office. So every single company needs to think about why they're doing it and what strategic reason they're doing that first. So we would try to be less knee-jerk if possible.
So, Kim, if people want to get in contact with Q Agency, what is the best way for them to go about it?
Yep. Email me or contact me. My email address is kim@q.agency. I'm happy to speak to anyone and talk them through how to best do it. Even if it's not with us, obviously we can. I can tell them what to look out for and make sure they choose the right partner.
Yeah, and definitely if people are thinking about it, I would definitely take the advice on board, is that if you're thinking about it, research it, look into it, speak to the right people. Don't just fall into it and hope it works.
Absolutely. I think we need to create more certainty, not less certainty in this world at the minute. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks, Kim. It was wonderful to speak to you. And I hope people got a lot out of that, because I certainly did. Certainly around the prep, I just think is the key. The prep and communication, I really think from all the remote working that's been going on for the last couple of months, that to really sound cliched, communication is so important at the moment. And because we're not sitting beside each other in an office, that preparation is so key for all projects that people are doing. Yeah, so thank you, Kim, and we'll talk to you again soon.